live, everybody, but we're also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of Lace Music. It's episode 68 of Kamloops Last Week. Chris Foulds, Magic Mike, and Bill. No Greg the engineer today. Where is he?
Probably working over at delivering appliances.
He's at Gord's hired.
He got a delivery job at Gord's? No, that's not true. He's up at Sun Peaks doing a skiing conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot more interesting than this.
It's pretty neat. It's open. It's beautiful up there. And I think we need to do a on-location shoot up at Sun Peaks.
With KLW?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I like that.
Yeah.
68. Anything neat?
It's when the world was blessed with Foldsy. Comes out of the womb of his mom back in the day.
That's right.
I think you've been waiting for this, right?
Yes, 1968, maybe the best year, second best year. 94 is the best year, but it's 68, a good year. And also, it's the last year before everything went to hell in a handbasket. Summer Love was 67, 68 was a great year, 69 was Altamont, and then the Manson murders and all the other shit happened after that, and all the assassinations. So it was the last great year before the world went dark.
Today could be a big day for you. He's got a huge bet riding. If Canada wins this afternoon?
Actually, it's not my bet. It's my son Atticus's bet, and he sent it to me. He spent $25, and he took Japan to win over Germany, and he took Canada to beat Belgium. Very, very big underdogs. $25. If Canada and Japan win, he wins $1,000. So this morning, Japan beat Germany. Big upset. And
2-1.
It is now, November 23rd? It's about 9:10. So in less than 2 hours, Canada plays Belgium. If Canada wins, my son turns $25 into $1,000.
Speaking of bets, you owe me money.
I do. I owe you a card. That's right.
Ba, 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 ba.
$20.
Yeah. It's the
Do you have it on you?
card.
Let's go.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Speaking of loving, I got myself this morning one of their lattes, and it's $2.
Only $2 right now at
Yeah.
participating stores in Kamloops and Merritt. $1 for small and medium coffees, and $2 for those lattes and espressos.
Hi, what can I get for you today?
Our coffee's only $1 right now?
Mediums and smalls, yes.
Oh, what a deal that is. I'll get 2 medium coffee, both with 2 cream, and that's only in Kamloops and Merritt, right?
I don't know, but, oh, yes.
Yes, it is. And the best part is, too, when you buy those coffees, you're shopping local.
Yes.
Yes. Have a great day today. Thank you.
Okay, that'll be $2.10.
Okay, bye.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I lost the first $20 card on the Lions, and then I won. Now I lost it. So here, I'm paying you back.
We'll make another bet at the end of this show.
Oh no, we're going to bet right now because we're going to do it on whether Canada escapes the group.
Oh yeah, we already
Yes.
made that bet.
I think
though.
we'll put this on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I say they don't. You say they do. Although they have a good chance now because Croatia, a very aging team, the one I think is going to win the group, they tied Morocco 0-0, and that's good news for Canada.
I also think now, hearing about Belgium's D, slower, older, maybe Canada has an upset today.
They could win because what's his name's out for one of the stars for Belgium is out for 2 games for sure.
And the Canadians are fast. That's what they're thinking.
Although
Get behind that D.
Davies, he was grimacing in pain 2 days ago in practice. His hamstring's still acting up. I bet you Davies becomes a non-factor if he plays. He's injured.
He's not going to be a non-factor. I'll tell you who is a factor. Mike O'Reilly. He's a Kamloops City Councillor. He's going to join us today. Also, Doug Herbert.
Yes.
CBC, great voice. He's also an actor. He's going to be in...
It's really cool. We have a story online at kamloopsthisweek.com under the entertainment tab, and in today's newspaper, 23rd of November, Kamloops This Week print edition on B1, Sean Brady did a story. It explains how they do this play. It's really, really cool. They're acting, but on the stage with them are the sound people. Mm-hmm. For example, if the snow is, you're crunching through snow, they're like breaking celery sticks.
And I think the whole message is about finding what is life's greatest gift, right?
I think the message is you want old man, what's his name? You want his life because he owned all the property there.
What is life's greatest gift?
Life's greatest gift?
Yes.
It's probably life itself.
Life itself. Mike?
Well, this is deep. Life's greatest gift. Yeah, I would say friends and family.
Friends and family.
And guitars.
And guitars. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually Strauss Naturals for 15% off. Your coffee almost went down there.
Almost went down there. That's right. Yes.
All of November, Strauss Naturals are 15% off. at New Leaf Produce Market. Also, the Holiday Bear, that was the Dano Char who we just launched. What's going on real quick with the Holiday Bear?
In the November 30th print edition of Kamloops This Week, which is a week from today, we have an annual business and Kamloops This Week campaign. A bunch of businesses, probably 24, are going to have bears of various sizes to give away to customers as they fill out go shop local, fill out your form. If your name gets drawn, you win one of the bears. Everybody who enters is entered into a grand prize draw.
Christmas cheer as well.
Christmas cheer is on.
Into it.
Yeah, Christmas cheer. You go to the Kamloops This Week website, you look at the big Christmas cheer logo, you hit it, and you donate anything from $1 upwards, and you can help 5 charities in town. And we're writing about them every week.
This Sunday, the Santa Claus Parade, we'll stream it live this year on Facebook thanks to our good pals at Dearborn Ford. It's a 4:10 p.m. start this Sunday, November 27th. A special Wake Up Santa event. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, the annual Santa Claus Parade it was happened last year and this year again after was stopping in the in 2020. The kids wake up Santa at in Kamloops Square because at Second and Seymour, and they wake him up. And then he gets up and he gets on his sleigh and then the parade starts. It's really cool.
Sexy Chris leading the charge.
But I actually bought a trailer to tow in the Santa Claus Parade. And then a few years ago, what I started doing is I started a band called Slayer, but it's Sleighger.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and we're a metal marching band that plays evil Christmas songs. It's at nighttime this year as well.
They've changed it last year or 2 or 3 years ago. They changed it, and some people didn't like it, but some do because the lights come out, and it's a little more Christmassy, right?
We've got one of our work trucks all decked out in trussing with lights all over it, and we're going to be there. So, and the amazing thing is, people scream and cheer as you're going by it. It's just such an exhilarating thing to be part of. So,
if you have kids, it's the greatest thing. When we first moved here, because we didn't have that in Abbotsford, not to the extent. This parade, especially when you kids
bales and trucks with manure.
Yeah,
I'm surprised about that. Actually, not in Abbotsford.
Well, the ones in Abbotsford, they have them, but then they always include gang shootings and stuff, so people have to disperse because that's so. But when your kids are of the age where they still believe and they're still magical, and you're sitting there downtown Kamloops and it's a little cold and you got hot chocolate and the snow's falling, it really is. It's amazing.
We might run into one of our 310 subscribers when we're down there at the Christmas parade. We couldn't do that without our sponsors. And I know, Mike, and so do you know this, we ran into all of our sponsors recently on one of our amazing journeys that we took. What did we do again?
Well, we were practicing to our a cappella group of choir singing that we wanted to do, and they were also with us singing.
And Foulds, he started to choke a little bit.
Well, because I was carrying the load and singing more than you guys, and
the falsetto parts, yeah.
Yeah, and because you guys can't do it, you're baritones at best. So I got really parched, so I went to New Leaf and I got myself some apple juice, and I just it helped.
I also noticed that he was kind of bringing us down again with his voice cracking. So I got him some smooth oregano from
That's
New
right.
Leaf, from Strauss.
That really helped him out. It was amazing how quickly it worked too.
Yeah.
You said that like you're like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Strauss.
But we weren't done there, were we? Right? We kept singing, and people were joining in with us. And I noticed that one young boy, he just didn't seem right. And you walked over him, and what did you do for this young boy?
Well, I realized that he was trying to sing and he was trying to do what he needed to, but it was too echoey in the room for him to hear. So we discovered together a new use for Sealy mattresses. Not only are they soft and comfortable to sleep on, but they also work great as reducing unwanted reverberant fields in rooms.
The Sealy mattress, it's one size fits all for everything. If you have an ailing child who's at your performance, you can just let him sit down and heal himself. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
I also noticed that we started to really kind of drop off. Our energy started to drop off, didn't it?
Yeah, so we had to quickly zip down to the nearby McDonald's and pick up the $1 coffees, and perked us up quite a bit.
And we promptly fired Foulds from our trio.
He started going to Wimbaway kind of a thing, and it was just like, it's a Christmas thing.
That's true, and I was quite devastated, and I cried a lot, and the salty tears got on my clothes, so I had to go get a new washing machine from Gorge to wash them and make them clean again, and I felt reborn.
And it was a perfect time to do that because the Black Friday sale is on right now. It's on right now. It runs to December 7th at Gorge Appliance and Mattress Center. Meanwhile, at McDonald's, coffees are dirt cheap. $1, $1.05, as you like to point out. And also, huge news right now as we move on. Bill, be ready, be on the trigger finger here. Huge news, because we're going to debut a new segment. December 7th, the first Wednesday of every month. It's going to be called Reader's Digest. Reid Hamer-Jackson, so he's going to join us the first Wednesday of every month. We're just going to talk to him about all things Kamloops.
Yeah, it's something we should do, and we would have done it last term, but we started like late in the last term. But it's something we want to do. It's no different what all the media does. I know we in the paper the council have a rotating council column every month to talk about things in council. So each councillor, including the mayor, they have a rotation during the 4 years. Radio NL has the mayor on, I think, once a week or twice a month to talk about things. So we're going to have the mayor on because, hey, he's the mayor. He should be talking to the people.
I think what people sometimes say about these longer form interviews is you can kind of get to know the person a bit better. So he'll have 10 minutes to talk about what's on his mind, take us behind the scenes, just like we're going to have Mike O'Reilly, and you get to know them a little bit better.
Yep.
Some more. It's not just little clips. It's longer form interviews and a chance for him to say, and we're going to hold his feet to the fire when we have to as well.
Sure.
Because I'm sure there's going to be some times where that's going to need to happen.
Yep, absolutely.
Mike, what do you think about the segment?
I bumped into Mayor Hamer-Jackson at the TNRD library the other day, and he was going to his first meeting up there, and he sounded really excited about this. It was right before your meeting,
Right.
And I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, right on. Next up, it's Mike O'Reilly. And this week, it's brought to you by the New Leaf Produce Market.
Film.
That's a long intro video. Mike O'Reilly, thanks for joining us this morning. I've never asked any of our guests how they feel about our green room, which is sitting in the parking lot until we come get you. I mean, do you think we should improve on that, or how do you feel about it?
Well, I think the trek down from where I parked down here was a little dicey in the middle of winter, but other than that, I think it works.
There could be some kind of claim against Mike here if one of our guests slips.
We keep our parking lot on the side graveled, so in case there is a problem, we can just get rid of it quickly.
Okay. All right, Mike, let's start with some newsy-ish stuff here. Last night there was a meeting about the budget. Can you give us the Coles notes?
Yeah, it was presented as our provisional budget to council, which happens every year. A little different this year, being the first time this new council has seen a budget, and it was showing about 5.6%. And what that is based on is staff coming back and saying, if you want the same service levels and the same things that we offer this year as last year, this is what's going to cost. It's not adding anything extra, and so that's our first base look at it, and then we go from there.
And people have to calm down and not get crazy, because every year it starts here and try to bring it down, because that number is based on if you didn't bring in any more revenue, you didn't cut any services, this is how much a tax increase, but you whittle it down as you go, right? Or you try to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And staff are at the point yesterday, we're looking for general direction. Is this somewhat acceptable, or are we way too low or way too high? Just to get a general idea where we're feeling. But I did ask the question yesterday in council, what are we hearing from like-sized municipalities across BC, just so we have an idea.
Yeah.
And what we were told was the average, or what Director Humphrey is hearing, is between 5 to 9%.
Wow.
Is what's being in other municipalities this similar size.
Provisionally.
Provisional, correct.
Because in this century, from 2000 to 2022, the average has been about 2.5% in Kamloops, which I think at the time was kind of just keeping up with inflation. Last year was the highest this century, which was 5%, but that followed an extremely low one because of the COVID thing. Most councillors have said they want to get down to about 2. What would you be? What's your aim?
Yeah, I think if we look at historically, as you've spoken about, is we try and keep it close to inflation, because if we want to keep the same services, that's essentially what we have to do.
But inflation now is like 7%.
Well, and so that's what it's going to come back to. Do we want to keep this and have higher tax increase, or do we want to cut services, and what services do we want to cut? And I think we got to be clear too, is when we talk about the general inflation number that you're seeing, or CPI at 2 or 3% in the news, it's different for municipalities. We don't use a general basket that
you use the
general
Edmonton
population.
one, right?
Right. So we look at the Edmonton one because they are the clearest one. And what Edmonton does is they have their entire economics department, and they say, well, this is what the general public is, but this is what our CPI is or our inflation is based on the goods that we use as a municipality. And they typically come in around 1% higher than what normal inflation is.
Wouldn't it be lower? You guys have the Municipal Finance Authority. You can borrow money cheaper than I can. So wouldn't it be, or how come it's higher?
The goods that we actually use.
Okay.
Right. So we don't go to the grocery store.
Oh, the line
Go
painting and all the specialty stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those things are costing more. Like
Yeah.
when we look at our PVC piping, right,
Yeah.
having a 300% increase.
Yeah.
When was the last time you went and bought
Exactly.
PVC piping?
Yeah.
Right. It's just not something that a normal consumer would use.
Okay. Good. Good
Switching
to know.
gears a little bit, we asked Kelly Hall last week about committees, forming committees. He kind of spurred the mayor to kind of get on it a little bit. Anything you can update us on as far as the formation of committees, and are you concerned about how fast they're forming?
And would you want to go back to when we had regular people on it, or do you think the new system has worked well?
Well, there are a couple questions there.
Yeah,
one
sorry.
being, no, that's all good. I mean, setting up committees or task forces, whatever we want to call them, that's at the discretion of the mayor solely. And so at this point, you know, we have had some general conversation, the mayor and I, and it's just kind of a hurry up and wait thing, and we're waiting to see what the mayor unfolds, and whether that's just committees or just task forces or a hybrid of having committees and task forces underneath those. And going to your second question, are the committees working? They do in a lot of circumstances, but I do think there maybe is some room for efficiencies where we can start having the public involved a little bit more. So when we look at heritage and culture, we look at the social planning working
Recreation
group.
would help.
Recreation, those types of things. I think there's room to have more public opinion that then filters up to the committee to go through that, and then that committee makes recommendations to council.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, I think what we need is to find a balance of having the input, but also being able to streamline and get these things done. There's only so many hours that 9 elected officials can put in a week, and if we went to complete engagement, you'd be looking at 100 hours a week per councillor, and that's not the way this is supposed to be designed.
And some people say there's enough red tape as it is, so let's get on with it.
If it was up to you, how quickly would you like to get these things formed?
I mean, frankly, it's not up to me.
Yeah.
But it would be nice. Mayor Hamer-Jackson has made the comments say, we don't want to rush this. We want to get it right. And I respect that. At the same time, I think we do still need to progress and move. And it's not just for giving council direction, but it's also for staff to have direction, right? And what this is going to look like.
Right.
And I have mentioned to the mayor as saying, I completely respect that, and I love where his head's at. But at the same time, as the mayor, he can change those committees or working groups at any time, right? It's his decision. It could be in 2 months. It could be in 2 years, and that's his choice.
He's spoken of creating 6-month ones just to look at certain issues like this, and that's one of the few powers that the mayor has above anything else is that. So he should, hopefully does it wisely.
I did some reading last night, believe it or not, and I saw something interesting going back and reading what you had said. You said part of the reason why you didn't run for mayor is you foresaw a need for experience on council. So now, I mean, it seems kind of sage. I mean, how do you feel about that decision now, and how much need has there been for that experience?
Yeah, I think it's needed. It is needed, and I've really enjoyed working with all of my new colleagues. Everybody it's just like myself 4 years ago. You're eager, you want to do this, you want to do that, and it's not what they want to do. It's working with them. How do they get done what they want to get done procedurally, and also politically? How do you get this through, and how do you garner the support of your colleagues? Whether it's the mayor or myself or Councillor Karpuck, you need 5 votes to get anything done that you want to get done, and that's all part of it and very important to achieve your goals.
Is it frustrating having to go through those hard yards again, watching people having to kind of stumble through the early process, no fault of their own, but for you who knows what's going on to kind of like, oh man, is it frustrating a little bit?
No, not at all. Not at all. I love it. I like having new people in the fold. I'm learning from all of them already, and that's exciting to me. It gives me different perspective on things, and really, I mean, as I've been a small business owner for nearly 15 years in Kamloops with upwards of 500 or 600 employees. I like to coach people along, right? I like to help and get them better, and that we want everybody to get better. And you know, in 4 years, I may not be there, and it's going to be their turn to lead the next group coming in, and that's all making council better as a whole. At the beginning, we got to figure out how do we get this done.
It's very technical, eh?
It is,
Yeah.
and so as myself, Councillor Sarai and Councillor Hall spent quite a bit of time with Mayor Hamer-Jackson the day before the first council meeting, and you know, from there were some technical things that we noticed in the council meeting that the general public wouldn't notice.
No.
Yeah.
Right, but at the end of the day, that first council meeting went very smooth.
Very
I thought.
smooth,
I mean,
yeah.
a couple little hiccups, but really it went very,
I
very
was going
smooth.
to
and
ask
that's
you,
important.
is the hammer nailing it? Is he picking it up quickly?
Yeah,
Good.
I mean, for someone that hasn't chaired a meeting like that, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think normally we have about 30 people watching online, and we had over 100 on Tuesday. I think people were just curious, how is this going to
Engaged.
go?
Yeah.
And I think Mayor Hamer-Jackson pulled that off very well, and I thought it gave confidence to council and the general public that we can get the business of the city done.
All right. All right.
I want to ask you about your history with MS. I think 12 years ago, you had a procedure experimental. Just maybe you can fill us in on how you're doing.
Yeah, I used to be quite public about it when I was president of the MS Society here in Kamloops. I was also on the BC Yukon MS Society and was chair of the Government Relations Committee, so I was very heavily involved. But you know, when I first started talking about it publicly, I had been advised by people with MS to not do that, simply for my career.
What?
They said... Yeah, but that's a reality
Because it's a medical thing,
because
yeah.
people with disability,
Yeah.
right?
You were at
And
Venture Canvas at the time, weren't you?
I was, yeah, I was.
And you got the liberation treatment, which was interesting.
Yeah, and so you know that's. I think it's important to
That's a
talk about these
stigma.
things. It is,
Yeah.
and we all have these things. And if you may not have it today, you might have it in 2 years or something, or you might have it today and you might not find out for 2 years,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you've just been living with that long. And it shouldn't be stigmatized. And so I went very public with it. I had controversial surgery. It was CCSVI or liberation.
It's the going through the plaque,
through the
correct?
jugular,
Yeah.
through the jugular veins, and you know, I couldn't. There was times when I couldn't walk more than 2 or 3 blocks, and the reason I remember the distance is because I really struggled walking from Venture Camels at the time to Motivo to get my morning coffee.
Which
Is that
eventually
before
bought.
the operation or is that after?
Before.
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 Yeah.
And you know, there were 4 of us that got the surgery that day down in California, and all 4 of us were from Canada. All 4 of us were from British Columbia. And I mean, mixed results for different people. Much like any medication for MS, there's mixed results. I was very fortunate and very lucky.
And you notice an improvement.
Within I think it was 12 hours or 24 hours, I could feel my feet for the first time in 2 years.
Holy jeez. And
Like
you
I was
wa-
laying there in bed, and all of a sudden my feet started going warm, and
Jeez.
it was yeah. So, but you know, I'm doing extremely well, and
You just posted recently about another is it experimental. Is it you went to Kelowna? Because you posted it on Facebook, so it's almost a public thing, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, as a politician,
Yeah.
most of your life is public. And I went down for infusion. It's not experimental. It's just new to MS.
Okay.
And so what is it? It's actually a drug that's used to fight cancer.
Yep.
And cancer treatment that's been around for decades, but they just discovered that it actually helps or stops growth of MS. Essentially, what it does, it stops your immune system from being overactive, which is what MS is. It's
Right.
your body attacking your own body because they think it's something
It's
wrong.
confused.
So your immune system is always active, whereas this just suppresses it.
How much of a challenge is it for you and your family? Like you were supposed to be on our show last week. You had to go to, I think it was either Vernon or Kelowna.
Vernon, yes.
So there's travel. I mean, you're a politician and you have MS. I mean, how challenging is it for you and your family to go through all that?
We all got challenges. We make it work, and that's just life. I mean, if anything that came up in my life, I said, "Oh, I can't do this. It's challenging. It's gonna be tough." No, you just deal with it and you move on, and it doesn't make your life, or you don't base your life around it, but it's a part of your life, and I think that's important.
Speaking of challenges, switching gears again, facilities. And you do have a 4.5-year-old son. He's starting to skate ice sheets. Many issues, but ice sheets are one of them. Just maybe your general take on the facility situation in Kamloops.
Yeah, we are very short on ice. We have been for years. The last sheet of ice that was built in Kamloops was the Riverside Coliseum at the time, back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And then the Olympic the Olympic sheet at Mac Park came on, but when the ice box shut down, we had no net gain of ice.
Yeah.
And obviously we look at the growth of our community being the top 5 fastest growing communities in Western Canada, and not to have additional ice in 30 years, it's a challenge. And most recently we saw during the Scotties piece and wanting to close the patch and
Right.
and those things happen, and that was never a problem before. But now our ice usage, I believe, we're at 105 or 110% of capacity, and it's a very big problem, and we need new sheets of ice.
Meanwhile, we've got folks in the arts community like Mike who have their concerns. Any question for Mike?
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that if we go way back in time to the 90s and we look at what was going on in the scene here in Kamloops, we had 7 venues that young kids could book and put on shows, or groups could come in and put on shows, that kind of thing, which are no longer around now. And there's a huge glut in our community for these kind of shows. Your kids are coming up to that age. Hopefully they're playing guitar already. But is there anything in the plans to address that? We're missing even the KXA grounds was a huge 2,400 seat on one side, 600 seat on the other side. We were in there at least 3 times a month, and we're completely missing that now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think if we look at the recreational master plan as a whole, which we're all aware of, what we have in there is the amount of facilities that we have now and what we are lacking, and what facilities we are going to need first. The first thing on the recreational master plan is a performing arts center. Then it moves down to the shortage of ice. We go into curling sheets of ice as well, indoor field space, track space, soccer space, and then last week we go to a new pool to be built on the North Shore, similar to an H2O center into Alona. But I think it's important to talk about the recreational master plan. This isn't something that the last council just came up with. This isn't something that administration just said, hey, these are the things I think we need, and let's do it this order. This was done from years and years of consultation with the community and with the user groups that need these facilities. And it's no surprise that, we are short of art space, we're short of ice. We need to look at the curling ice situation. But we've adopted that, or the previous council did, and these are the facilities and these are the order they're going to be built in, starting with the Performing Arts Center. So
new spaces for events is not on the list?
Well, I think at this point that's going to be our best bet is the Performing Arts Center to be used for potential events and essentially also a civic gathering space, which we don't have. We don't have a civic gathering space.
But a performing arts center really is a sit down, you come in, you play, everything's already there for the musicians or whatever group. But if you're wanting to be a young band that's putting on a concert for you and your buddies that have high school bands, or even if you are a conference that wants to come to town and put on something, shouldn't we have something like what Penticton has, which has a 4,000 seat conference center attached to their performing arts center, attached to their arena, that can be broken up into 4 1,000 seat areas, so we can host these bigger events and that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think that's certainly something that could be looked at this point. That's not there. So before my time on council, because I brought up the exact same conversation, should we look at having a large conference center? And a study was done, and what it came back and showed is that if we were to build two things. One, if it were to be built, large conferences will start cannibalizing the Tournament Capital brand because of the amount of hotel rooms and spaces that we have in Kamloops. and so we wouldn't be able to host the tournaments that we have been known for hosting. Similarly, talking just as recently as within the last year, as I've been on the Tourism Kamloops board, they do not have or see a demand for large conferences. Their sweet spot is the 200-300 people, and that's where there's a demand. But outside of that, they said we wouldn't necessarily have the business to fill a conference center.
I'll just make one last point. I find that interesting because I travel all over the place doing large conferences, and they don't come to Kamloops. So, but I'd love to talk to you and go to McDonald's and have a coffee about it.
You and Mr. Hamer-Jackson, because he loves Penticton too. You always bring up that Penticton.
It's an overkill facility that does really well.
I mean, the weird thing, and I've said this before, people say, well, we need the 4-hour center to attract certain acts. But right, if you look at all the big acts coming through, the big acts, so I'm talking like Elton John or Billy Joel, and they go to Penticton. They play an arena that's no different than Salmon Center. But I think it's because of the population and the route. They have way more people to draw from. But what I'm saying is those acts aren't playing in a performing arts center we don't have. They're playing in a Sandman Center that's in Penticton for whatever reason. But you can put that as part of your platform in 2026.
Will you support me in my run for mayor? That's what I'm really asking.
Miltimore 26. Zooming out 30,000 feet and being a political buff in Kamloops for the last 2 decades, this is the most directional council we've had in over 15 years. That it's not necessarily split right down the middle.
No.
There's a clear direction on the people that were elected, and that's exciting for Kamloops.
It's a good balance. I think so.
Thank you, Mike. This segment, the next one coming up, brought to you by Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. We have Doug Herbert coming in right now. Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please. Freaking $500 hydro bill, piece of trash. I need to speak to Gord on the 9er.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal. You should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can try some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money is not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle-of-the-road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget-friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if you can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go. Seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
Doug Herbert, CBC Kamloops. We work together there.
We do?
We do. Normally it's you asking me questions.
It's true. I'm on the hot seat today.
You're in the hot seat. You're going to talk to us about a play. Just, floor's yours. What's going on?
Well, we've got a lovely show that is opening this week. It's A Wonderful Life, the radio play. And I used to act. That was my whole bag for a long time. I wanted to be a big star, go to Broadway, be in all the movies. I took a kick at the can for many, many years, and I didn't make much money. So anyway, long story short, I ended up in journalism, and about 10 years in here at Kamloops, I thought, I should audition. I've been talking about being an actor for years. Maybe I should show people that I'm not just blowing smoke and telling stories. So I threw in my hat for It's a Wonderful Life, and a month later found out I'd been cast in it. And now I am somewhat petrified and scared because we are opening this week, and I'm realizing I've committed to a large thing that is challenging me in ways that I haven't been challenged in many years.
What was the competition like?
Yeah,
to get the part?
Did you audition for a specific part, or was it an open? They're going to put you when they see you as a certain character.
There were 3 options I was given when I said I want to audition. It was, of course, Clarence the Angel, then the lead George Bailey, the hero of the story that everybody who's seen It's a Wonderful Life would remember, and then there's a part that if you've seen the movie, you likely would have no knowledge about. It's a guy called Freddie Filmore. And the tip here is it's a radio play. So you kind of come into the theater and you see this old 1940s radio soundstage. You're sort of, oh, what's going on? And the show is basically the radio soundstage actors doing the live radio play of It's a Wonderful Life out to the radio audience. I'm the host, Freddie Filmore, so it's a real stretch as a radio guy to play a radio guy on the stage. But it's fun, so I get to introduce the show, I get to introduce the actors, I get to sort of play with the audience a bit. And whenever it gets tense or there's some sort of scene change needed, I'll show up again and I'll do a little radio ad or something like that.
And another neat thing about the play is that on the stage, while you're on the stage, breaking the fourth wall, as it were, there's also a couple of people who are doing the sound effects.
Yes.
So they're called Foley props. You want to explain that, what it is to the audience?
Yes, the Foley artist is, if you just imagine yourself sitting there in front of the radio because you didn't have television, you hear feet walking, snow crunching. You hear a car door slam. You hear somebody enter the room. The siren, like it's all scene setting. So you're going, oh, right, somebody's just come in. Okay. Oh, what's going on? I hear some water. Oh no, he must have jumped into the icy cold river and now he's struggling to get out. And so that's the Foley artist. And we do have a local Kamloops guy who's doing that. He plays piano. We reference him on stage. And some of the actors will occasionally kind of come over and help him out. I mean, that iconic moment when you hear the bell, and every time you hear the bell, an angel gets its wings. That is one of the actors who literally just grabs the bell and gives it a shake.
And then you can see it there, but at the time, back in the 40s and 50s, it was your mind's eye.
Exactly, and you'd think, oh, they've got children in the show. Yeah. Well, no, it's a fully grown adult who is doing multiple voices. Yeah. And that's what we've got in the show, is a number of the actors have multiple characters. And in some scenes, you'll even see the actor talking to himself. He'll be like, well, blah, 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 blah. And then he's somebody else, and he's interacting with himself.
Oh, that's cool.
But you can tell. I mean, the quality of the actors they've cast, aside from myself, very high, very high.
Are you expecting to be petrified opening night?
I think I will be a little afraid. But I don't think I'm going to be quite as scared as I am right now. We're not in front of an audience yet. And I think that little extra energy of being in front of a bunch of people, being really scared that you're going to look like a donkey up there on the stage will sort of help me elevate my game. And remember that I had training as an actor. I did it for years and years. This isn't new to me. I think I'm trying to convince myself right now. But it was fun. I don't know how many other people auditioned for the role. I sent in a film tape of me doing it. I did, like I said, a bunch of the other roles.
I think you beat out James Peters.
Probably, probably. And that goes along with our radio battles.
RCDNA.
You're still undefeated, I think. Yes, right.
Your son, Declan, he must think this is pretty cool.
He does. We actually got a note from his school that he's going to be able to come and see it with some of his pals. And he says, oh, Dad, so you're going to be in it and I'm going to be in the audience. I said, yeah. He goes, I'm going to make a big sign and I'm going to hold it up. I said, that's my dad. That's my dad.
Oh, man.
I don't think he knows that I'm going to actually be walking out and talking to people in the audience. And I also don't think he knows that he's probably going to see the show like 3 times.
He's sick of it by the end
my
of it.
mom's coming. He's going to see it with her. He's going to see it with my wife. And he's also going to see it with his class.
How old is he?
7.
So now he's going to say, that's my dad. Another 10 years will be like, oh, that's my dad.
I don't know. We'll see if I go back on the stage after this one. But
that's going to be great.
Message? What's the message of the play?
Well, that there's hope. I mean, that you do good for people. And that evil is not going to win out. Because you've got this Edwin Potter or Mr. Potter character who wants to basically, you don't make enough money, you're into the dump. You're out of here. I'm going to kick you out of your house. And then you've got Mr. Bailey who wants to raise money, keep people in their homes because he believes that they will find a way to pay him back. It's that whole notion of Christmas, of giving.
Yeah, and he corrals all the people on his side.
He gets everybody together. The evil Mr. Potter is sort of left to be miserly and Scrooge-like on his own.
Do you think we need more of that in general society these days, the positive, uplifting stuff? I think about Ted Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso,
that show is a hit, and that's like a wholesome
It's
show.
an unusual hit because it's so wholesome.
Everything's so cynical. We're in the media. Everything's so cynical all the time.
I mean, you go online in the morning. Social media is just full of toxic, negative messaging. Is the world worse than it was before Facebook? I don't think so. I mean, you look at the stats, maybe the environment is worse off, likely, almost for sure the environment's worse off than before Facebook. But yeah, we do need those positive messages. And I think it's easy to get sucked into this negative, oh, the whole world sucks.
It's a doom scrolling silo that's dangerous for your mental health.
It is. So,
really
put down that phone, come out to the theater, have your heart lifted with the show, have a laugh. It's fun. And I mean, maybe inflation means your pocket's a little tight, but there are some pay what you can matinees. It's cool. It's a lot of fun. So if you need that sort of holiday lift, this will help get you in the mood.
Right.
Good.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts?
Anything?
I don't know. It's something that is still scaring me a little bit. But this year I decided I would do something that scared myself. I've already sang a national anthem at the North Paws game.
Yeah.
That was very scary. And then I read on social media somebody saying, I hear some terrible singing from it's bouncing off the mountains. I was like, oh, that's me. That's social media right there. Some good positive messaging.
Well, they say if the time when the butterflies aren't there, then maybe it's time to retire. So that's a good thing.
Yes.
That's when the most rewards come, when you challenge yourself. Right, Mike?
Right, Mike?
I think so. I'm excited to come and see this play, actually. It's one of my childhood favorites, and I
Me too. I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to see you act, and I'll hold up a sign.
I'm going to bring a sign too.
Okay, yeah. The more the merrier. Hold up some signs. Get the annoyance of the people behind you. You'll be fine.
We'll start a chant. We'll do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Doug, thank you very much. I'm excited for
having me on. I've enjoyed watching this, and now I'm in the hot chair.
Yes,
absolutely.
And it is warm with these lights.
It is.
That's good.
Next segment brought to you by McDonald's. You're going to talk about David Eby.
Yep.
Okay. Above the folds, take it away.
Yeah, I thought we should just end the show by talking about something that is, it's political and people might eyes glaze over, but it impacts Kamloops specifically. This is David Eby, and he's a tall drink of water boy. When you talk to him, you look it up.
Fascinated with his height.
He's so tall, it's incredible. Anyway, he is now the new Premier of British Columbia. And he said he's going to get a running start, and he really has done a running start. He's in his first. He got sworn in on November 18th. Today's November 23rd, and within those 5 days, he's announced a bunch of things that are pretty monumental. Yeah. He addressing the problems on the street, safety and crime. He's announced a whole bunch of initiatives. One that may impact Kamloops is that he's going to increase the funding for things like Car 40 around the province, and that is when you have a police officer paired with a mental health nurse to go on mental health calls, and it works really well. But we're limited by how often they can work in Kamloops. That's one thing. He's got a directive to Crown Council to try to keep repeat and dangerous offenders in jail on bail hearings. Yep. But that's just a directive. There's no power to tell them what to do. And Crown is hamstrung by Supreme Court rulings and by Bill C-75, the new law that says you try to, from the federal government, for whatever reason, the aim is to not keep people in custody unless extremely an extreme needs. And that's pissing off a lot of people, because you have people who are arrested for a crime, they go to bail hearing, they get out, and before the next appearance, they're arrested again for a crime. So he's trying to address that.
Is that one separate from the creation of the prolific offenders response teams? Yeah,
that's different too. So that's another one where they're trying to, because as we've been told on the show, I think 80% of the crime is created by like 10% of the people, and they're trying to get the prolifics off the street, which would really be a good thing. And that's what he's trying to do too.
I forgot to say that photo by David the Hawk Eagle. So thank you, Dave, for all your photos that you contribute. I guess I read Reid Hamer-Jackson talking about how he likes these ideas, and Dale Bass even said some of these ideas are great, but
like Dale Bass said, and she was echoed in an interview I did with BC Liberal leader Kevin Falcon, which could be seen on our website. It's great. Announcements are easy. Implementation is hard. So while even Falcon said, well, I like his ideas, but talk to me when they're enacted. Talk to me when there's success, and we'll have to see what happens. Will we get more Car 40 resources? Yeah. Right now, it runs during the day 8 to 5, I think 4 days a week. But as Dale Bass and other politicians have noticed, mental health issues don't adhere to a 9 to 5. They're all the time. So we'll see what happens with this. Remember, this is and this is, I think, valid criticism. This is the same government where the Premier during the last election cycle, 2020, only 3 years ago, he appeared at Thompson Rivers University and promised and guaranteed that a full cancer clinic would be at Royal Inland Hospital within 4 years, within this mandate. Not a year later, he's saying, oh, it's a 10-year plan. We don't know. So
wait and see.
It's easy to announce. Let's see what happens, but it is encouraging, I think. And also on housing, too. He's got a whole bunch of housing. I want to get into the minutiae of it, but it's all housing initiatives. Some are controversial, such as getting rid of a bunch of restrictions on stratas. Right now, there's a lot of stratas where there's no kids. So if you and your lovely girlfriend, who's now in San Jose, she's in Costa Rica
Tamarindo, Costa Rica.
That's
finally.
right. So if you and your girlfriend, Kelsey, end up getting married and having kids, for example, and let's say you lived you moved into a condo place that has no kids, but then she gets pregnant. Well, by the time that kid's born, you got to move to that condo. He's changed those rules. You can't do that no more.
Okay.
Now that's pissing off people who don't want kids in their condos.
Right.
The only one that stays is at 55 plus. Of which I'll be eligible next year, which is odd. I also have seniors coffee next year, so there you go. So I have my seniors coffee in my condo, watching you get evicted with your girlfriend. Anyway, he's doing all this stuff, and it's really fast. It was getting a lot of people's attention really fast, and we'll see where it goes.
The other thing is the hydro $100 credit.
Right. He is given because of the cost of living. He is giving every single hydro customer a $100 bill credit.
I hate my hydro bill.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be money. It's going to be off your bill, which is good. And then he's also giving a cost of living credit to families who make between $43,000 and $150,000 a year, and it's like a sliding scale. And it's not a lot.
In Alberta,
it's $600 to every household that up to $180,000.
Anything here, Mike, on this one?
I think that, what about all those people that are living in suites that may not have a BC Hydro bill that they're just paying?
That's the question that came up at the press conference, and they couldn't quite answer that. So you're saying, like, if your rent includes your hydro.
Your hydro, yeah.
Now you're paying for the hydro, but it's wrapped up into your rent. Who gets the credit? Right? Well, I think the credit goes to whoever's paying the hydro bill, and it's up to that landlord to say, hey, by the way, I got a credit $100, so I'm going to take $100 off your rent next month.
Do you know many landlords that will do that?
No, but no? I'm thinking that's the answer was, like, we assume they're going to do that because it's tied to who is paying the bill. So if you're in a basement suite and you pay a lump sum and includes your portion of hydro, you would hope the landlord would look at that and say, well, you pay 50%, so I'll go take $50 off your. But there's no legal recourse. It's only the people who.
I feel like that part of it misses the people that actually need it.
Yeah.
Well, now my hydro bill is worse because I actually have to heat my house in the winter because I have a girlfriend. She doesn't want to be in the frozen tundra of my apartment.
Well, I would tell her to buy a sweater or hit the road. That's what I would say.
Get an extra thick comforter, I think, is what you need to do.
Yeah. Well, you can crochet or some socks.
I stopped using my dishwasher too there for like 4 years because of the 9-hour cycle.
Well,
and I would notice these spikes on my bill every time I ran my dishwasher. Luckily, guess who came in to fix it? Gord Stevens.
You have a 2-bedroom condo in Sahalia. How much is you pay your hydro every 2 months?
Every month.
Every month?
And it goes down to like $20, $30 in the summer, and now it goes up to like 180, 200. But when I had Big Sexy, my old roommate, Sexy Julian, who would run a European shower, it's just like water on and music and the heat, and let's leave the oven on, it would be like $300.
Wow, that's a lot.
And all those women that he would have over there using my shower, like the spike in my bills every time, all these new women every day.
The heat's probably from the lovemaking, that's what it is. There you go. And you were probably sitting there just cold.
Bitter and twisted.
Just listening to bad noises.
Well, or good noises, depending on what side of the door you're on, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Weird noises.
Yes.
Okay, weird end of the segment. Let's move on. Let's wrap the show. Blazers tickets to give away.
That's right. December 2nd against Vancouver Giants at Sandman Center.
Right here. I think I'm just the worst at these contest giveaways. I never know how to do it. Instagram post. Like the post, tag a friend for a chance to win these 4 tickets. I hope it works. It probably won't. I'll probably just give them to Greg.
Next week, we got Connor Bedard coming to town.
I, by the way, have reached out to the Regina Pats to ask for an interview with Connor Bedard.
It would be the day he plays. They play here, Regina's here on November 30th. I'm going to see the game with my son. If we can get him that morning, that would be fantastic.
Well, he's not going to come on the show that morning. It'll have to be a pre-done interview that we play. There's no way on game day he's going to come on the show. You should know that.
He's a prima donna, that's
and,
why.
And also,
well,
he'll be at the game that night.
He will.
And I'll be in the scrum after, and we'll talk to him then.
Sure.
He's not a prima donna. He's just.
He's kidding. I'm kidding. But he's a generational player.
He's a generational player.
He's the first ever player in the Western Hockey League to get the exceptional status.
And it's a very weird line to walk.
Right, Mike? That's a big deal.
Yeah, sports, yes.
It's a weird line for me to walk, actually, this, if we're going to go kind of inside baseball, because you're not supposed to ask 17-year-old players about trades. You know, do you think you're going to get traded? What do you think about trading?
Because they're kids, right?
Yeah, that's the big blockbuster pie in the sky deal.
Everybody's always asking
Everyone's
you that,
talking
right?
about it. He's heard it before. It's not like it's going to be ruining his life by asking the question, but it's a weird one to kind of navigate. People in Kamloops want the question to be asked. They want to hear from.
But you're right. They're not adults. They're kids.
They're
and you
not
got to
adults,
respect that. Absolutely.
You do have to respect that.
Yep.
I respect Herman Holthe and New Leaf Produce Market and the Strauss Naturals, which are 15% off all November. Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center, they're hiring strong-bodied people for their delivery team. Also, the Gord's Giving Back program, so benevolent. We know that, Mike.
It's a good program.
It's a good program. And McDonald's,
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
$1, $1.05 for these coffees. That's it for the show. Chris Foulds for Magic Mike, for Bill, I'm Marty. We'll see you last week.
Last.